Greetings, my dear viewers. It is I, Drayhon, and welcome back to, well, another Dungeons & Dragons video. This time we are looking at the Spelljammer setting once again. Yes, this video is a little late because Spelljammer has been out for a while. We're already getting into the Dragonlance setting. But this video needed to be done, as well as another topic that has sparked a little bit of controversy, but I wanted to do this video mostly because I found it interesting. So, what is this video about? Well, if you looked at the thumbnail and the title of this video, you will know that there are a lot of monsters in the Spelljammer setting that were, well, released in the box set. However, I'm a little disappointed that some of the monsters that can be found in the astral plane were not re-released in these books, as they like to do for a lot of different adventures and other material. Like, for example, you can find Tiamat in both Rise of the Dragon Queen and in Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus, or even a werebear from the Monster Manual being re-released in Rime of the Frost Maiden. But anyway, today we are going to assume that we only have access to the Astral Adventurer's Guide, and do not have access to Boo's Astral Menagerie or the Light of Zarixis, as that is where a lot of these new monsters come from. So if we don't have these two books, but we do have the Astral Adventurer's Guide, how do we set up an encounter? What monsters from the astral plane would our players encounter? That is what we're taking a look at today. So strap in and take some notes, because you'll want to see these awesome monsters on your journey through the astral sea. Bonus. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of a cheat here before we get into the actual list of monsters, as Tal'Dorei Reborn and Monster Compendium Volume 1 do have a couple of monsters that would be perfect for a Spelljammer campaign. I am putting these two in a bonus section because, number one, most people don't consider Critical Role material as core material. And two, the Monstrous Compendium Volume 1 was released on D&D Beyond. And, well, not many people have access to that. So, yeah, we're going to just list these monsters here because they're cool looking, and I thought it would be nice to at least list them. For the Monstrous Compendium, there are a lot of monsters in the Spelljammer setting for this little bit of DLC. But two creatures really stuck out to me, and they are the Asteroid Spider. This thing is huge. This thing will grab onto a spelljamming vessel and try to eat the crew. That's its whole thing. It's just a gargantuan spider that looks like an asteroid, so you'll get close and not realize that it's a monster before it's too late. That's genius. It's almost as evil as encountering a mimic. Now, the other creature that can be encountered in the Monstrous Compendium has to be one of my favorites by far. The Star Lancer. This thing is a mount for the Githyankai whenever they need a stealth mission. That's right, this is another Gith Yonkai monster that we get instead of some of the older Gith Yonkai creatures. Which, holy cow, that's a little saddening, but this is still an awesome creature. Mostly because it serves as a mount, but also it has a special ability to where it can make itself and its rider invisible. Yeah, I think I know what I'm going to be using Fine Greater Steed for if I ever have a Gith Yonkai Paladin. I'm getting this guy. Now, what about Tal'Dorei Reborn? Because I mentioned it for a pretty good reason, and that is because of the creature that's on the cover of this book. A living constellation. Now, I don't have the name right next to me, so I'm probably going to butcher this thing's name. An Andark. Or an Andrak? I can't remember which way the R is. But anyway, it is literally a living constellation. Stars everywhere on this thing. Just imagine you're going through space on your spelljamming vessel, and all of a sudden you just see a part of the sky move. And it comes over, and you see one of these things inspecting your ship, seeing if you are a threat. That is awe-inspiring. And that would be a very cool creature to encounter instead of some of these alien beings. Now, with that being said, there are some other creatures to go over, and that is from Kobold Press. 2 creatures from their newest editions, Reach for the Stars material, and that is the Solar Elemental and the Void Elemental. And then you have their 4 different monster manuals, quote-unquote. 3 of which are known as the Tome of Beasts. Now, I'm not going to go into the Tome of Beasts selection of monsters, because that would take way too long and probably be its own video, so I'm just going to list 5 from the Creature Codex. The Ohu Nixta, the Astral Snapper, Light Dragons, Living Stars, and Moon Nymphs. There we go. Kobold Press does a really good job at trying to tie in actual Dungeons & Dragons material into their works. And all 5 of these either list the Astral Sea or just some form of non-material plane creature. The Moon Nymph literally just comes from the moon to do stuff. Mainly to just pull pranks, mess with the mortals. A living star. That's it, just a living star. Anyway, I am going way too far into this bonus section, so let's go ahead and just get right into our list. Number 1. The Astral Dreadnought. Yeah, this is how we're starting things off, with a boss monster. Comparable to the Tarrasque in devastation. I mean, this thing is so rare in the Astral Sea that some people think that there's only one of it. Much like how people think there is only one Tarrasque. This thing was created by the chained god Tharizdun. You know, the dude who made the Endless Abyss, who got trapped because he made the Abyss. try to warp the elemental evil. Yeah, that guy. That guy created these guys to hunt down anyone trying to find portals to the outer planes. Yeah, this guy basically saw the astral projection spell and said, yeah, heck no. You're getting snipped. No, literally, that's one of the abilities of the Astral Dreadnought. If it lands a critical hit on a creature who is only there because of the spell Astral Projection, the silvery cord that ties their soul to their body on the material plane gets cut. And according to Astral Projection, if your silvery cord is destroyed, you are dead. No saving throws. You're just dead. So yeah, that's why I wanted the Astral Dreadnought as one of the monsters on this list. Because it is a devastating creature for an Astral campaign. Well, at least if you're using the Astral Projection spell. It won't bother you unless you attack it. Or, you're trying to find a way out of the astral plane. I can imagine the Astral Dreadnought stalking one of the color pools that lead to another plane, just so no one can use it. So if you're trying to find a way out, this guy says no. And I think that is just terrifying. Number 2. The quori. Now, I already know what you're thinking. Oh, look, Drahan has gone nuts. He thinks that quori would be a perfect creature for an astral plane adventure, even though they are not a part of the astral plane. Well, hold on. Before you go and make fun of me, take a look at the Dungeon Master's Guide, page 46 and 47. Here is a description of the astral plane. The astral plane is the realm of thought and dream, where visitors travel as disembodied souls to reach the outer planes. And now for the quori's description in Eberron Rising from the Last War on page 305. Daelkyr is the plane of dreams, and is currently dominated by a dark power known as Il-Lashtavar, or the Dreaming Dark. Did you catch that? A realm of thought and dream is how the astral plane is described, and Daelkyr is the plane of dreams. So, quite literally, in the text, Daelkyr is just what they call the astral plane in Eberron. And this would actually be the perfect tie for a Kalashtar character, or even an inspired character. The inspired would want to take their... I messed up my thought process. An inspired would want to spread the Dreaming Dark's influence to other planes, while a Kalashtar would try to stop the Dreaming Dark from spreading beyond Eberron. I think that's the perfect character backstory. Oh yeah, I teamed up with a quori spirit to try to stop the Dreaming Dark. I have made a pact with the Dreaming Dark to spread its influence throughout the multiverse. It's just amazing stuff. If you want to check out how you yourself can create a Kalashtar character, I actually have a video on that subject. If I remember, I will put a link to that in the description, but if I don't, check out the character concept playlist and find the Kalishtar video. Amazing stuff. But yeah, quori. Perfect example of an encounterable creature in the astral plane. Number 3. The Daelkyr. These are aberrant beings from the far realm. Well, actually, they're from a very specific plane that technically is the far realm, but these are aberrant overlords. They're sort of like the demon lords or the archdukes of hell, but they are aberrant beings. Two of the ones that we know of are Belashira and Dern, which are from the Eberron campaign once again. One of my favorites, of course, being Dern, as he is the progenitor of the Mind Flayers in Eberron. But that would still be an epic conclusion to an Astral campaign. You've been fighting Mind Flayer after Mind Flayer, and finally, after you take down what you think is the big bad, you find out that the progenitor of all Mind Flayers seeks to take over your world. So you have to go in, find Dern, and eliminate him. That is an epic final battle. Now, speaking of the Mind Flayers, number 4. Ceramorphs. I'm just going to categorize any and all Mind Flayer creations into this one category. If you want to take a look at actual Ceramorphs, I have a video on that as well. Holy cow, I am throwing in a lot of shameless plugs to my other videos. This is a little out of hand. Anyway, creatures that come into this category would be Elderbrains, the Elderbrain Dragon, the Gnome Ceramorph, and the Gnome Squidling, Doppelgangers, because according to Eberron, Doppelgangers were created when Mind Flayers experimented on changelings and created these agents. You also got the Dolgaunt and Dolgrim, and actually there are 2 other Dol creatures. The Dolgar, which you see here on the left, and the Dolgru, which you see here on the right. Both of these creatures are actually very similar to the Dolgaunt and Dolgrim, but instead of hobgoblin and goblin experimentation and mutation, the Mind Flayers used bugbears to create these 2 separate beings. We don't have stat blocks for these guys, so that's a little disappointing, but we still have the Dolgaunt and Dolgrim, and according to both Boo's Astral Menagerie and I think the Astral Adventurer's Guide, we actually do have the ability to encounter both hobgoblins and bugbears, as well as the Mind Flayers in the astral plane, which is great. It's a good way to tie this into an astral adventure. Another creature that I think would be interesting to see would be an Oblex, which I don't know how you would fit that into an astral campaign, but it is another Mind Flayer creation, so it was at least worth putting on the list. You could probably have it in the Rock of Brawl as a antagonist of sorts. That's the only thing I can really think of for an Oblex. Number 5. Alright, another one of the Daelkyr, which we had named, what was it? Belthashira. That Daelkyr is the progenitor of Beholders. So beholderkin would actually make sense as well, as we do see plenty of beholders in the astral plane, as they even have their own spell-jamming vessel. So having these beholderkin would make a beholder encounter that much more interesting. But in all honesty, I think the best beholderkin to encounter by itself would have to be the Eye of the Deep. Because a lot of creatures in Boo's Astral Menagerie are aquatic themed. So having this Eye of the Deep beholderkin would just be hilarious and thematic. Number 6. Star Spawn and Core Spawn. That's it. That's this segment. The Star Spawn and the Core Spawn are creatures that come from the Far Realm, a place outside of the astral plane that are trying to invade the material plane by getting through the astral plane. Or they just come up straight into the material plane, according to Wildmont. Which, honestly, that is perfect. And a lot of the Star Spawn are just worshippers of the entities that come from the Far Realm. So just having these Star Spawn and Core Spawn roaming astral plane, along with all of these other alien entities, just make sense. Number 7. mor-goth. Yeah, these things are a little weird. I never expected them to actually be a part of the astral plane, but that's how they originated. They originated in the astral plane when a corpse of a god of greed and strife collided with a remnant of celestial matter imbued with life-giving magic. That's their origin. These guys are basically the dragons of space. They are avid hoarders. They will collect anything they can get their hands on. Or claws, or tentacles. They mostly have tentacles. Both people and objects, doesn't really matter. If they can collect it, they will. In fact, their layers, where there are people, have been within that layer for generations. In most cases. And the best way to negotiate with a mor-goth is to trade it an item that is more valuable to it than anything it already has. So maybe a unique magic item, or maybe another individual. Probably trade it an evil wizard that no longer has its magic. That would be something. When I think of the mor-goth, I just think of Tamatoa from the movie Moana. That's basically what the mor-goth is. It's just Tamatoa. It'd be hilarious to have a mor-goth encounter, and it just talks in the same style as this demon crab. There we are, mor-goths. Number 8. Body Taker Plants. This was released in the Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft as an homage to Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which both the Body Taker Plants and the Invasion of the Body Snatchers have their monster released from space. Human goes in, alien duplicate comes out. And that alien duplicate will hunt down more people to take back to its progenitor to increase the number of duplicates until it has consumed the entire planet, probably. I don't know what the goal was for this thing, or the goal of the body snatchers in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I just know that this is a fun monster to have if you're looking for something different than your average doppelganger. Number 9. Slaad. Yeah. In the Boo's Astral Menagerie, we actually have an encounter listed for either a green Slaad or a gray Slaad, but never the blue or the red. Or Death Slaad, for that matter. But these guys would actually be perfect for an astral encounter, as this is essentially Xenomorphs from Alien. Yeah, this would actually be a good encounter to have, because that's how they are. They are very similar to the Xenomorphs, so having this type of horror in your spelljamming session would be interesting. Just figure out where they are, kill them, and make sure no one is infected. Simple as that. Number 10. Alright, so we're ending this one off with a very strange one. The berbalang. And you're probably looking at this guy thinking, this guy's an aberration. He looks like a fiend. And yes, that's what I thought too. Even his art in 5th edition looks like a fiend. But no, these guys are aberrations. These guys will actually live on the corpses of dead gods, trying to gather information, to gather knowledge. That is what they seek. They pursue knowledge and gather secrets. They also send out duplicates of themselves to the material plane to watch the gods and the followers of those gods and where they gather. They just love it. They love all kinds of information. Also, they love collecting bones, and they always use those bones to get more information. They consult the bones to get more information, and they force the information out of these spirits that they get in contact with through these bones. And if you want information from a berbalang, you are going to need to give it information as well, something it doesn't know yet. Githyankai actually bargain with berbalang, not only to get information, but to use them as spies. Again, back to the Githyankai. Can we just appreciate the tie-in to the Githyankai when it comes to astral monsters? It's either the Githyankai or it's going to be Illithids. One or the other, and that still ties back to the other. Since both the Githyankai and the Illithids have history together. Not good history, but they have history. And that is all the time I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Until I see you again, this has been Drehan, and I am offline. Let me know in the comments section below which creature you found to be the most interesting, and which creature you found the most surprising to see on this list.